The Euthyphro Dilemma is one of the most enduring puzzles in philosophy. It comes from Plato's dialogue in Euthyphro, where Socrates meets Euthyphro outside a courthouse in Athens. Euthyphro was there to prosecute his father for manslaughter, something shocking in ancient Greek culture. When Socrates asks why he's doing this, Euthyphro confidently responds that it's the pious thing to do, something the gods would approve of. But Socrates, ever the questioner, challenges Euthyphro to explain what makes something pious or good. Is it pious because the gods love it, or do the gods love it because it is pious? This seemingly simple question has profound implications. Let's examine the first possibility. Something is good because the gods love it. In this view, moral truths are based entirely on divine will. If the gods, or God in a monotheistic sense, declare something good, then it is good. This is the basis of a view called divine command theory, which asserts that morality is rooted in the commands of a divine being. At first, this might seem straightforward. If God is all-powerful and all-knowing, then surely morality must come from God. But this view creates a problem. It makes morality seem arbitrary. If something is good only because the gods command it, then those commands could, in theory, be anything. Imagine if God were to command that lying or stealing were good. According to this view, those actions would become morally right simply because of divine decree. This raises uncomfortable questions. Is there really any intrinsic reason for why we should act morally, or is it just about obeying rules? If morality depends entirely on divine will, it seems to lose its deeper universal meaning. The second possibility flips the relationship between morality and the divine. It suggests that the gods love something because it is already good. Here, morality exists independently of divine authority. The gods, or God, recognize what is good and love it because of its inherent goodness. This view might seem more satisfying because it suggests that moral truths are stable and universal. Kindness, justice, and honesty are good, regardless of whether anyone, even the gods, commands them. But this raises a different set of questions. If goodness exists independently of the gods, where does it come from? What is its source? If morality isn't created by divine beings, does that mean we don't need them to determine what is right and wrong? This view risks making divine authorities seem irrelevant to morality. If goodness exists on its own, the gods appear to be observers of moral truth rather than its source. This is the heart of the Euthyphro Dilemma. If morality is dependent on divine will, it seems arbitrary. But if morality is dependent, it raises the question of whether divine authority is necessary at all. Both options challenge traditional views of morality and the divine, making the dilemma so powerful and enduring. Over the centuries, thinkers have tried to resolve this dilemma in different ways. One influential response comes from theologians like St. Thomas Aquinas, and he argued that morality isn't separate from God or arbitrarily created by God. Instead, morality is rooted in God's nature. According to this view, God doesn't decide what is good, and goodness doesn't exist independently of good. Instead, God's nature is goodness itself. God's commands flow naturally from this perfectly good nature, so they aren't arbitrary. This response avoids the arbitrariness problem because God's commands reflect a consistent nature that is inherently good. It also avoids the independence problem by tying morality to God's essence rather than an external standard. However, even this solution isn't without its critics. Some philosophers ask, what makes God's nature good? Is it good by definition, or does it conform to some higher standard? If we say God's nature is good by definition, are we just avoiding the problem rather than solving it? The Euthyphro Dilemma isn't just a question for religious philosophy. It also forces us to think about morality in general, even in secular contexts. For example, are there universal moral truths, like human rights, that exist independently of culture and belief? Or are moral values created by societies and shaped by history and context? This tension between universal and relative morality mirrors the Euthyphro Dilemma in surprising ways. What makes this question so compelling is that it challenges us to consider the foundations of our ethical beliefs. If morality is handed down from above, how do we avoid the risk of arbitrariness? If morality exists independently, what gives it authority over our lives? And if morality comes from neither the gods nor some external standard, could it simply be something humans create for ourselves? Socrates didn't resolve the dilemma, and that might be the point. The Euthyphro Dilemma is not a question that demands a clear answer. Instead, it's a tool to help us think more deeply about morality, authority, and the values that guide our lives. Whether you believe morality comes from divine will, universal principles, or human invention, grappling with this question sharpens our understanding of what it means to live a good life. In the end, the Euthyphro Dilemma isn't just about gods or philosophy. It's about us. It challenges everyone to ask, where do my values come from? Why do I believe some things are right and others wrong? The value of the Euthyphro Dilemma isn't in solving it, but in wrestling with it, in using it as a lens to examine our beliefs and their foundations. Because in trying to answer it, we don't just learn about morality, we learn about ourselves.